Hello everyone, I'm James Pelster, and I am a staff writer for GameCola.net, Gaming Outside the Mainstream, and today I am bringing to you a little video review slash playthrough, I suppose, of 2064 Read-Only Memories by Midboss. This is a brand new update that's going to be released for their existing game, just called Read-Only Memories, and it's coming out on January 17th, 2017. And I would just like to personally thank Midboss very, very much for reaching out to GameCola and providing us with an early access copy of this update so that we can bring you guys a nice review just in time for its release. And with that, let's take a look at the intro.
Neo San Francisco, 2064 AD. The world thrives on a constant flow of groundbreaking technology. Cybernetic augmentation and genetic modification allow the repair and enhancement of almost any part of a human body. Millions of people jack into virtual worlds every day to work, play, and connect with one another with advanced brain-to-machine technology. Easier access to genetic modification leaves hybrids walking the streets, looking less human every day. However, some can't keep up with the fast-paced changes around them. They say that ROMs, now commonplace thanks to Parallax, are leading humans to a place where we can never come back, losing the survival skills that we have relied on for millennia. Relationship organizational managers are compiled with virtual intelligence and can seem human-like in their interactions. But despite the marketing hype, at their core, they are only brainless machines. Organizations, like the Human Revolution, seek to slow the relentless pace of progress, fearing that unchecked technology will make us lose the very things that make us human. High above the rising tension below, a Parallax engineer has blurred the line even further. And with this, humanity's destiny will be altered forever.
Yes, so that was the intro cinematic. Keep in mind this is a preview copy, so this is not the final build of the game that is going to be going out on Steam and console. So any bugs or any issues that you might see during this playthrough could very well be patched out, and probably will be patched out by the time the game itself is released. So just take everything you see with a grain of salt, knowing that this is not quite the final product yet. But anyway, so what I'm going to be doing here is basically playing through the game. I have played entirely through the original game. Personally, I have not played that much of the update. I played a little bit through it just to get a feel, make sure the recording works, but other than that, this is going to be a mostly blind playthrough. So this should be really interesting. I'll be sure to point out any things I noticed that are different from the original game. Already in the intro, I noticed that there was a decent bit of dialogue changed around, and it looked like they added some new exposition there. Alright, and immediately right off the bat, I've already noticed something that's new. That, as I said, I played through this part, but I would like to point out that that little time and location transition is actually new. That wasn't in the original game. So, I like it. It's a nice touch. So, we're home sweet home? Okay, maybe not so sweet. I'm also probably not going to be reading through a lot of the dialogue aloud, partly because there's way too much dialogue in even the original game to read it all aloud, and also because one of the new things included in this update is voice acting for basically all the characters. Even some of the minor ones that I've seen have voice acting to some degree. And I think overall it's pretty good from what I've seen. I'm really liking it. I think it's a very nice change. So, you know, and then of course if we go to the menu here, there is always an option to turn off the voiceover. So, that's very nice that they give you the option to turn it off yourself. I believe this game does support controllers even on PC, which is what I'm playing it on here, which I assume is why they have that vibration option. But other than that, let's get started by looking around our apartment. So we've got some coffee, we've got a book, we've got a plant, or a lappy, excuse me, it's a computer laptop there. So we've got a sheet of paper here. Yes, it does. Obviously, they can't make all of the dialogue riveting, but as you can see, they do their very best to try. So, it would appear we have something infested in our sink. See, I would be more concerned with the fact that it is actively moving, rather than the fact that it's just growing. Like, the fact that it seems to be alive is more what I'm concerned about. Also, is that like a little TV or something back behind there? Or is that like my reflection in like a mini, like, TV mirror or something? I don't know. Alright, so any of you who have played the original game probably know that the first thing you're supposed to do, okay, you're not supposed to do this, but you can do this, and I'm definitely going to do this, is open up the fridge and get out this carton of spoiled milk. This is completely optional, but it's something I always like to do because you can basically carry this thing around with you for the whole game and just use it on random things. I love it. It's just all these little subtle touches, you know, just optional things you don't have to do, but just this game really rewards you for just experimenting on things, either with, you know, funny interactions with characters or just clever dialogue. Or perhaps something completely unexpected happens and it changes the way you're solving a puzzle or something like that. It's just little things. So, we've got a plant here. Let's look at it. Well, apparently we're still failing at it, even if it is easy to take care of. We've got our window here. Maintenance request pending. Well, good to know. We got a book here. I actually don't know what that book is. I've been meaning to look that up, actually, because, you know, it kind of made me interested. It's kind of funny how just a simple mention of a name in a video game that you're playing makes you want to look up whatever it is. The Great Equalizer. Yes, indeed. I can certainly agree with that. And we have Lappy here. So, as you can see, if you click, you have this little ring of icons. So you can use items, look at, you know, use, basically. With this option tends to change depending on the context of what object it is you're trying to, you know, interact with. And then, of course, you can talk to it. So, let's try talking to this thing. It is alive, right? How rude. Alright, we've got a stack of papers here. And we've got some headphones over here. Let's take a look at these. A pair of GX Ultra Beats headphones. And of course, quite funnily enough, the character in this game that you play as is in fact a journalist online. So, go figure. So let's grab those headphones. And if we go into our items here, they're smart headphones. Basically, this is a nice little way of telling us, hey, you can, now that you have these headphones, you can use the item icon on objects and use these headphones on them. So if we use it on the sync, we can hear it gurgling in high def. If we listen to the plant... That message is a bit more creepy than I think it's supposed to be. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But these must be some crazy wizardry headphones. I mean, the year is 2064, but they must have some serious, crazy advances in technology just for headphones to just do this kind of stuff, like figure out what it is that you're putting them next to. So they're automatic audiobook readers. Good voice acting. I think the good voice acting is actually, I think that's a new line. I wonder if that's a self-plug at the voice acting that's new in this version. Your accountability remains intact. Oh, thank goodness. Well, actually, I want to try using these headphones on a couple other things. Man, I wish headphones like this, today could do this kind of stuff, because that would be really useful for me. Huh. I don't think I ever actually tried using the headphones on this many objects in the original version, but I don't remember it ever telling me, hey, stop using the headphones with things. I wonder what happens if I keep going. The page is blank! It's useless to me! And the headphones, too. Alright, let's try using it on these pieces of paper. Actually, can we use it on the fridge? Cooking show, ramen and household materials. Awesome. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's another thing I like about this game, is it's got like those little audio cues, like when something doesn't turn out right or it's disgusting, it's like wow wow wow. It's just a nice little cue. Alright, game, alright. I will write my review. Just leave me alone. Lappy is a bit of a relic. I can't tell. I think that copyright year, it either said 2052 or 2062, but if it said 2062, I wouldn't necessarily call this laptop a relic. I mean, my laptop is 2 years old, and it's, going on 3, and it's still perfectly adequate. Maybe the, obsolescence of technology is really, really fast in the future. Who knows? It's a very basic operating system. It's only got 4 buttons. So we have news, or internet, I mean. Journal logic, I assume that's what we write with. The equivalent of YouTube, and the equivalent of, email. The equivalent. So, let's procrastinate. We're getting paid to write this article, but procrastination is... I won't say it's normal. It's sort of normal. Anyway, current events article. We'll write that review in a minute. Okay, they can wait another half hour before we write our headphones review. Good to see they're still using hashtags in 2064. Apparently hashtags will never ever die. I have to say, for a game that, from my limited understanding, is, relatively minimal understanding, I have to say I am impressed by just the huge amount of exposition and sort of, lore that is in this game. The foundation that it's built on, story-wise, is quite strong, and I have to give them serious props for that. I think this, a lot of this text was in the original game, but I believe they've added a bit to it. Like, a lot of this sort of backstory has been, fleshed out even more with this new update, as it seems. So, again, just massive props. And I have to say, it is supposed to be kind of a cyberpunk sort of future, so it's not necessarily meant to represent exactly what we expect the future to be like in, San Francisco in the real 2064, but I mean, it's, just from what I would assume would actually happen in the future, a lot of the issues do seem quite similar to, societal issues that we have today, and I really like it. So this is Charlie Nova.
Hey, it's Charlie Nova, host of Star in the Stratosphere, and Tonight in the Stars. Join Ryan V. Josio and the Hassy Boys for our 10th annual TMI New Year's Eve special, where I'll interview some of the hottest celebrities and find out what their plans are for 2065. Tune in or join us live at Union Square for the big show, starting at 10 p.m.
Now, Charlie Nova, this guy, his voice actor sounds to me so much like Handsome Jack from the Borderlands series. Can any of you guys, see what I mean by that? Like, I don't believe it's the same actor, but I don't know, that voice just sounds very much like Handsome Jack to me. That's just what I hear every time I hear his voice. I just think of Handsome Jack for whatever reason. Got a sports article. Good to see the 49ers are still going. I don't know much about football, so I can't really comment too much on this here. I love how they call everything new or Neo and stuff. I mean, heck, it could actually be called the new Candlestick in real life, but I'm not sure. That's the only thing I know they didn't just add a new to is New York. Gosh, could you imagine Neo New York? That would be just... Well, actually, no, that would just be redundant. I forgot about that. I really like that detail. It's just the whole... Oh, it's also a woman in football. I like how that is actually completely sidelined for the whole cybernetic implants issue. I actually really like that. That's kind of shows, even if in real life, if we haven't progressed that much in society, which I really hope we do by then, but it's just kind of nice to see that, the future, it's nice progression in what society's all worried about. For all things, everything. I actually really like that little tagline there, for all things, everything. Vandalism in Golden Gate Park. Also, I can't believe I'm blanking on this, but I think JJ in that JJ's Froyo stand is a reference to the creator of the game, or the producer of the game. ROM with no shell. So ROMs have shells, do they? It's not just like part of the chassis or the body of the robot. It's kind of an interesting prospect. What different kinds of architecture do these robots have? Do they have just like little easily replaceable body panels, kind of like cars do nowadays? Are there ROMs that are just all big sort of unibody, kind of all built in together? Well, that's a bit rude. Okay, well that's fair enough. Oh, finally somebody other than that, I think that's the only story that wasn't written by that one same person. I can't remember her name. Alright, let's check out some Lips Live. GX Ultra Beats. Always useful. Good to see the live cams of baby animals are still a thing. Your choice is clear. What? That was a new sound effect. In the original game, it would just go boing whenever you did something right, but now it just was kind of like a boing. That's kind of like a sarcastic success little sound effect there. I kind of like that. That's funny. Alright, let's see. Spam mail, scam mail, bill, work mail, rent mail, promotional mail. Ah, good old Hassie. All of your daily calories with none of the nutritional value. Yikes. Kinda makes you wonder how anybody is okay with that, but who knows. Invitation. That's a dentist, right? Yeah, probably a trap, I agree. Alright, well, let's get the article out of the way. Oof. That's a bit too accurate there. Also, why on our homepage, why do we have just random pictures of, like, our own house? I mean, like, maybe he was, like, saying, hey, check out what's growing out of my sink, but I don't know. Alright. Time for bed. Alrighty. Well, let's go ahead and sleep. Oh, interesting. Now they give you an option. Before you just use the bed and you would just go straight to sleep. Now you have the option to stay awake if you want to look at some more stuff. Good to know.
Good, you're finally awake. I'm honestly not sure why most humans still have such lengthy sleep cycles. It seems rather inconvenient. Are you significantly opposed to cybernetic augments?
Well, I mean, if cybernetic augments can make... How could cybernetic augments prevent you or make it so you don't need to sleep? Isn't that something that, like, you just kind of have to do? I mean, I don't know. I feel like it'd be almost impossible to get a cybernetic augment that actually, like, removes the need to sleep. Like, you could probably get your brain stimulated enough to where you don't have to sleep, or that you don't, you never feel tired, but I mean, you would just... You'd fry your brain pretty quickly, I feel like. We've got some different choices here. What the hecky? Boah, and how did you get into my apartment? Well, let's just go straight forward.
I came in through the door, of course. The cryptographic algorithms it uses are actually quite atrocious.
Actually, give me a second. I am just going to pause here and lower the music volume a bit. The music is fantastic. It's very reminiscent of old, OPL, MIDI style sort of Sound Blaster PC games from the 90s. I really like that, or rather not 90s, probably more like late 80s, early 90s probably.
It only took me 17 trillion clock cycles to break your entry code.
It's good to know computers are still getting way faster.
It looks rather imposing, but it's actually a knockoff of the Secugate M/14723-B.
That's an interesting way of pronouncing a dash, but I suppose, yeah, that is another way to just say dash is stroke. It's interesting. I think that's generally more of a British thing, I thought, but who knows. And of course, I knew my landlord was full of it. Figures.
Don't feel too bad. I actually cheated a bit when I cross-referenced likely numeric combinations against the stored personal data on you.
Ah. So what you're saying is you broke in, but you cheated. Only in the future can you cheat with breaking in.
I'm not certain why you picked the birthday of your first dog, but it would be sufficiently obscure to defeat most casual attempts to enter.
I like the emphasis he puts on most. That's reassuring.
Frankly, I felt a little silly that I took the time to do all that once I noticed that the lock on your window is broken.
Yeah, and we also left it open.
And that you left it open.
Yeah, see? Way ahead of you there. Actually, I forget, did the text say we knew our lock was broken or not? I don't think he ever mentioned the computer, actually. I think that might be some leftover dialogue, because in the original game, he does mention that he was using your computer, but he hit a snag or something, and then that's when this would pop up. I think that might, you might want to look into that there, mid-boss, because I don't believe that actually is mentioned anymore in this new dialogue. Either way, you know our dog's birthday. How could you?
I know a lot of things. Honestly, it would have taken me longer if I had to enter the codes manually, but it was trivial to slice through the door's firewall and try against the stored data directly.
That kind of makes me wonder why that door lock is connected to the internet or even, accessible through anywhere other than just direct input. That makes not a lot of sense.
I would suggest investing in an Insect Model 1355 automatic security door. The 1385 is newer, but I find the added attack vector introduced by the integrated voice commands isn't worth the convenience.
Well, I mean, if we're going with an older model, we could probably have an easier chance of affording it, considering it doesn't look like we are particularly rolling in cash.
The 1355 also has 300 5-star reviews on Congo.
I guess that's helpful to know.
Unfortunately, your motherboard seems to have had a critical failure while I was attempting to remove some particularly nasty malware.
Must have been really, really nasty if it managed to damage the hardware. That's... Yikes. That's something I didn't think about, actually, is, if computer technology is advancing, what are the advances in viruses and malware and such like that? That's kind of frightening if they could actually go from just being damaging to software to actually break your hardware. I know only like 1 or 2 viruses that have ever been able to do that, even in the past.
An electrical surge caused significant damage to several other components as well.
Oh. Well, that'll do it, yeah.
I would consider it no great loss, though.
Oh, well, good, cause that's helpful to me.
Why were you using that dinosaur to begin with?
Well, 1, all my work was on there, and 2, yeah, we probably don't have enough money for a new computer.
Don't fret! I did manage to back up your data drive's contents on my storage before the crash.
Well, I suppose that's good, but, I mean, I doubt the actual data drive is damaged, unless, well, I suppose if it's solid state, I suppose it could be.
Additionally, I am willing to serve as your personal computer until you can procure a replacement or provide the parts necessary for me to make the repairs.
Well, that's thoughtful of you, but you don't have much of a mouse or keyboard or anything I can write articles on, so that's not entirely helpful.
It is the least I can do. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to engage you in any sort of subterfuge, but I tend to ramble on a bit when I'm nervous. I have all the necessary protocols, but I've never actually spoken to another person besides Hayden, until now.
And I actually think that that does kind of show, even in the voice acting. As I said before, I would definitely like to give a lot of praise to this game's voice acting. It's, so far it's been quite good. Even in, even in this robots or this ROM's speaking, it kind of sounds... The best way I could describe it is it's like the uncanny valley of speech, almost. Like, to me, it sounds almost human. It sounds so close, but there's just kind of like a little bit of sort of stiltedness or awkwardness to some of the ways of the words are pronounced, or the phrasing, or the timing of syllables that I think it really drives it home to the thing that, what you're talking to is almost human, but not quite. But more importantly, he knows this guy.
Well, saying I know Hayden is putting it simply, but yes. I don't really know. That's why I'm here. Help me. You aren't quite my only hope, but you're certainly the most statistically supported.
Nice Star Wars paraphrasing there. Let's see. Yeah, probably starting from the beginning is a good idea.
The beginning. Okay, yes, I can do that. Earlier tonight, Hayden's apartment was assaulted by some persons unknown to me. He seemed frightened, terrified even, and instructed me to escape. I crawled out of a window, and after some deliberation, hurried here. I heard them breaking down the door as I left.
Why am I your best hope? Why was anyone out for Hayden? I feel like these two are kind of the same, so...
I ran an algorithm against every contact in Hayden's address book. Based on the combined deductions of personal profile, directness of connection to Hayden, occupational skill, and probable motive, you were the candidate most likely to both be able and willing to help me.
I simultaneously find that quite amazing how thorough that actual algorithm was, and also a bit surprised that I would, our character would be the most likely to do that, but, I'll give it to the game. It's perfectly possible.
And the one least likely to be suspected of doing so.
That's probably more likely why you came to me.
The numbers don't lie about your investigative skills, but I will admit your total lack of recent successes is worrisome.
Actually, I meant to point out that last set of choices. I find it interesting because the second option where you're saying, well, why should I help? I haven't seen Hayden in years. That's probably more along the lines of what, a normal person would probably respond with. It's always... I do like that they give you the option to kind of say, hey, okay, I'm all for, going on adventure in video games, but if this is supposed to be like it's in real life, not everyone is just super gung-ho about going on adventures and finding kidnapped people. It's not something everybody is so keen to do, and I like that they cater to the fact that, you're able to be naturally a bit reluctant to do so.
Don't worry, if Hayden trusted you, I trust you. You're strong-willed and capable.
But by which you mean we're stubborn and capable, I assume.
If anything, it's worth trying for Hayden.
Oh, also, I should mention that you can either use... For this game, you can actually use the mouse basically just on its own to select dialogue choices and such, and, select objects in the room, but you can also use the arrow keys and the spacebar. So here I can press the arrow keys to switch between options here. I can press up and down, and I can press spacebar to advance the text or select an option in the dialogue box. And I believe escape is to bring up the menu.
I don't know. I'm not certain who would benefit the most from taking Hayden prisoner. Admittedly, Hayden has become increasingly paranoid as of late, and has warned me to stay alert, but he would never specify anyone I should fear when I asked.
Well, that seems kind of a bit suspicious in and of itself, but, I suppose he could be just trying to protect you on that.
It's not as though he has any obvious enemies. There are several multinational corporations that could make use of his engineering skills, but I can't imagine any of them would go as far as snatching him. He is one of the top researchers at Parallax, but there's no way that alone would be enough to get him kidnapped. I suspect it has to do with me. Ah, excuse me. I forgot to introduce myself. I've never had the pleasure of doing so before. I am Turing.
And there is sort of the general main melody of this game. You heard it in the title, you heard it in here as well. I really like how they kind of have a lot of tracks in this game that kind of are just variations or alternate versions of this same sort of similar theme. I do kind of like that in music. It's not for everybody, I'd imagine, but I like the creativity with just, a single sort of bit of source material. Also, I meant to mention with the sort of inspiration for the music that obviously the graphics are also very inspired by, PC games, sort of 16-bit graphics, very similar, limited color palette, which is why you see sort of little checkerboard patterns everywhere. It's the technique called dithering, which is when they didn't have a shade that was in between two colors, they just kind of checkerboarded the two colors that it was supposed to be between, and if you had a small enough screen or a blurry enough monitor, it would actually look fairly close to the color they were trying to get most of the time.
I know this must sound quite unflattering, but I suppose you could describe me as one of Hayden's experiments. He's currently researching advanced machine intelligence at Parallax. I am a personal side project of his. Exploring true artificial sapience.
That's a bit of a bomb to drop on us now, isn't it? You're sapient?
It's possible that the idea of a sapient machine could scare or tempt an organization into kidnapping him.
Sounds more likely that they would be tempted into kidnapping the sapient machine rather than its creator. Although or at least both.
Either to stop his research, or to take it and use it for themselves.
Then again, I suppose that's why Hayden told Turing to run away at the beginning anyway. So we have the total jerk response, standard one, and, just more inquisitive.
A regular ROM has virtual intelligence. They can appear rather smart, even human-seeming when you talk to them. But they're just cleverly programmed to respond to a variety of situations in an organic manner.
Basically, they have a huge list of responses, but what you can do is make your own, kind of sort of thing.
They aren't in any way self-deterministic. As for myself, much of my code wasn't actually written by Hayden, but rather compiled during my infancy as I learned to interact with the world around me.
It's kind of crazy, it's kind of a meta design, isn't it? Code that compiles itself? Kind of makes you wonder how that would all work, or if it's, even feasible to do that.
But despite my ability to self-modify my code, I am afraid to adapt or develop any further without Hayden's guidance. Did he only program me with the illusion of free will?
That's a very good point, actually. Although I suppose, I think, therefore I am, but that might only apply to humans for that exact reason.
How would you? Hayden once told me that his desire to create artificial life stemmed from his need to find out. But I can't say I have any new insight into the question. how can any of us tell that we aren't just puppets dancing to someone else's will?
Yeah, I suppose. Or at the very least, how can we tell if a robot that is supposed to be sapient truly is sapient? I suppose that is a good question. To quote Zenyatta from Overwatch, do I think? Does a submarine swim? And of course, my response to that at least would be, not exactly, but you get the idea.
You're right. I apologize for the tangent.
It's a very polite robot, I will say that. Because if he is truly sapient, there's nothing that says he has to be polite. Or, you know, basically anything else. So it's a good thing he's nice and polite with us here.
Indeed, time is of the essence. I took the liberty of charging the autocab fare from here to Hayden's apartment to your personal finance account, and the car has just arrived.
Oh, great. Yeah, because that's definitely what I need. Alright. I like that first response. That's a new one. I can totally afford that.